Welcome to the Gavel. I am Benny Ark. At the start of this week's plenary session, before discussing the agenda, an urgent national issue was brought up regarding the disruption of education in Nasarawa State caused by a rainstorm. This is the report.
On the first day of plenary of the week, before delving into the orders of the day, a matter of urgent national importance was raised on the disruption of education in Nasarawa State due to a rainstorm.
The House notes that on the 16th day of March 2024, there was a heavy rainstorm which resulted in significant destruction and displacement of communities and schools in Akwanga, Nasarawa, Egon, Awamba Federal Constituency of Nasarawa State. Also notes that the rainstorm, which destroyed homes and schools, has rendered my constituents homeless, disrupted the education of students in these communities, and has put some residents in critical conditions.
Next, a motion sponsored by 49 lawmakers calling for a halt in the implementation of an alleged agreement between Nigeria and the United Kingdom was raised. The alleged agreement permits lawyers trained in the United Kingdom to practice in Nigeria. The House is worried that the agreement is one-sided.
It is apparent that there was insufficient consultation with key stakeholders and affected interests with respect to the deal. Therefore, the House is called to resolve to urge the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to immediately halt the signing and implementation of the trade partnership with the United Kingdom until the terms and conditions governing the same are fully examined and ascertained.
We have to stop this until Nigeria is matured enough in so many aspects to go shoulder to shoulder with the superpowers. I am not a lawyer, but I have a brain. They are learned, I'm educated. We know they are coming in with so many things that will not favor Nigeria, that will not favor Nigerians.
The House then mandated its Committee on Treaties, Protocols and Agreements to investigate the matter and report back within 4 weeks. Next, the House considered a bill seeking to grant extended leave to a widow or widower to allow them mourn their deceased spouse and make immediate arrangements for the challenges ahead.
In our civil service rule, we have just 14 days accommodation for anyone that is bereaved in the civil service rule. So, 14 days, if we're looking at it from the point of our religious belief and cultural beliefs, you will appreciate that it's not enough to accommodate what the man or the woman really needs after going through such an experience.
You can never put a time because the pain continues. Some of these pains last forever, for a lifetime. But that will be at the committee level. But I'm thinking, rather than calling it a widowhood leave, a bereavement leave may be more encompassing. So that we're not back here in 4 years saying, oh, when somebody loses a daughter or a son, it should be granted special leave to go and do that.
The bill scaled second reading, despite the call from the House leader for a broader perspective, and will be subjected to a public hearing.
For intervention.
During Wednesday's plenary, a bill to amend the Compulsory Free Universal Basic Education Act scaled second reading.
The original intention and mandate of the Commission as contained in the extant Act is to provide greater access to and ensure quality of basic education throughout Nigeria. Going by this, basic education is to be provided by the federal government, and it shall be compulsory, free, universal, and qualitative. The extant law establishing the UBEC, while laudable, has not achieved the significant aspects of its set goals as intended. For instance, the issue of out-of-school children still proves to be a multifaceted problem with far-reaching consequences. According to the latest global data on out-of-school children by UNICEF, Nigeria has approximately 10.5 million out-of-school children. Regrettably, a concerning trend also persists as a significant level of infrastructural deterioration plagues the majority of public primary schools across all 36 states of the Federation. Despite the proposed capital expenditure for the education sector in the 2024 budget, its potential impact may be limited.
The House of Representatives is calling for standardization of orphanages across the country. In a motion by Honorable Sunday Emerengwa, the lawmakers alleged that some orphanages are used as baby factories and trafficking of vulnerable orphans. The House is urging the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to interface with all 36 states and the FCT for immediate and full compliance of the mandate of orphanage homes across the country, and has mandated its Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development to liaise with the ministry to close under-resourced orphanages.
The House observed that most proprietors of orphanage home often prioritize profits over their core mandate, turning orphanage into baby factories, where teenage girls are accommodated to produce babies, which are sold and used for rituals and other heinous activities. That a good number of orphanage homes are being used for human trafficking, whereby innocent girls are being recruited to embark on illegal migration to foreign countries, where they are eventually end up either being abused, prostitutes, or housemaids. The House cognizant of the urgent demand of government at all levels to formulate stringent conditions for the establishment of orphanage in the country to prevent and curb the proliferation of orphanage homes.
The House also passed the Supplementary Budget Amendment Bill and the 2023 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill, as well as the Students' Loan Repealment and Amendment Bill.
Lawmakers gathered for their initial plenary session of the week with a crucial topic occupying the forefront of their agenda: the tragic loss of 16 soldiers in Okwama community, Delta State. Let's check it out.
24.
The killing of 16 soldiers in Okwama community, Delta State, was uppermost on the agenda for lawmakers on the first plenary for the week.
Troops of 181 Amphibious Battalion, while on a peace mission to Okwama community in Bomadi local government area of Delta State, were surrounded by some community youths and killed on Thursday 14th, 2024. The unfortunate incident occurred when the troops responded to a distress call after the communal crisis between the Okwama and Okoloba communities, both in Delta State.
What happened in Delta was not an accident. It was a designed and well orchestrated. Those who did that deserve to be condemned.
We direct an inquiry, direct the appropriate committees to go into this matter and then give us a full report. Let's know what really happened.
After an exhaustive debate, the President of the Senate, who believes that those culpable for the barbaric killing should be declared terrorists, adopts the resolution.
Urge the federal government to ensure that those responsible for this heinous crime are identified, apprehended, and brought to face the full wrath of the law through a fair and transparent legal process. Those in support of prayer to say aye, those against say nay. The ayes have it. It's a very sad development. I think the Senate awaits the outcome of the investigations. So I urge the committees on defense, committee on army, committee on navy, and the committee on air force combined to liaise with the military to find out, to obtain for first-hand for us the outcome of the investigation on in respect of these dastardly killings. As we are very concerned, we know that the investigation is already ongoing by the military. There is no amount of investigation we can do that will be better than what they are already doing. By the time the whole thing is established, we will know whether the people who were killed as a result of community conflict or as a result of external forces. Whatever is we have condemned, and we are not happy. No Nigerian is happy over this incident.
A minute of silence is observed, which is replicated in the House of Representatives. Meanwhile, the Senate has passed a bill for an act to amend the 2023 Supplementary Appropriation Act to extend the implementation year from March 31st, 2024 to June 30, 2024.
In view of the critical importance of some key projects nearing completion, it is expedient to grant extension of the expiration clause to avoid compounding the problem of abandoned projects, given that some of the projects were not provided for in the 2024 budget. Hence, the need to extend the implementation from 31st March 2024 to 30th June 2024. I therefore urge my colleagues to give their full support to this bill to allow full utilization of the capital releases in order to help reflate the economy, while I move that the bill be referred to the Committee of the Whole for clause-by-clause consideration.
In the meantime, the Senate is worried about the issue of out-of-school children.
That the social impacts of having about 20 million out-of-school children on the Nigerian state will include impediment to achieving some of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, especially Goal 4, which is to ensure inclusiveness and equitable quality of education and promotion of lifelong learning opportunities for all. Also providing easy pull for recruitment into criminal gang, banditry and terrorism, which are the biggest security issues in the Nigerian state, we have been dealing with for many years.
You have a critical mass of people to recruit from for insurgency, for banditry, and so on and so forth. Until we are able to have our youth properly educated, prepared for tomorrow, both for leadership and productivity, growth and development may be eluding us.
I suggest, sir, that we urge the appropriate agency or department to publish, as I know they used to do, but this time to make it in newspapers, state by state, including FCT, the percentage of out-of-school children. So we can see the governors and the states that are more guilty of this huge negligence and thereby risking all of us, and those states that have taken appropriate steps to deal with the issue of out-of-school children. It is not an act of God. It is misplacement of priorities by appropriate agencies. And there's nothing we can do with mere words. When we publish, for example, that Akwa Ibom out-of-school children is about 5, 6, 7%, and we publish that another state within the same sub-region is about 15%, or you publish, in the case of Edo, by the time I left government, it was about 7%. My envy was that of Ondo State, or Ekiti, that was about 5%. At that same time, I know of states that had as much as 50% out-of-school population. And my argument then, which is the argument I will make now, it cannot be the truth that every governor can afford to buy the same bulletproof car. We can afford the same state-of-the-art government house, but we cannot afford to pay 50% subsidy to ensure that the child of the poor go to school.
The Senate gave expedited passage to the student loan bill, which has scaled second reading last week, as well as a public hearing by a joint committee.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Gavel. The Senate pledges unwavering support for the armed forces and assures President Tinubu of confidence in his decisions. Senator Ahmed Lawan, chairman of the Senate Committee on Defense, Army, Navy, reaffirmed this commitment. This is the report.
The Senate has vowed to continue to stand with the armed forces, just as they assure President Tinubu that he has taken the right decision on the matter. This was made known by the chairman of the Senate's Joint Committee, Senator Ahmed Lawan, who also doubles as the chairman of the Senate's Committee on Defense, Army, Navy, and Air Force. The meeting had in attendance the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, and the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala. The committee, after a closed-door meeting, acknowledged the courage and resilience of the Army while appealing to Nigerians to exercise patience and understanding.
This meeting was the first. We expect that we'll also hold subsequent meetings when we'll have more and more information with respect to what has happened. But let me say this. The Senate particularly and the National Assembly stand solidly with our armed forces. We'll continue to support our armed forces. And I want to also assure Mr. President that he took the right step when he gave that direction and directive to our armed forces to fish out the perpetrators of this heinous and horrific crime. We hope that pretty soon we'll convene again for us to have more information and then report back to the Senate whatever it is that we're able to gather as a report.
What is important is that the armed forces have given a very good account of themselves. We praise their courage, their resilience, and their patience. It is incumbent to also send a very strong note of warning to all the gangsters because to face the armed forces of a nation is a major affront. We just have to continue to appeal for patience and understanding.
Also, the Senate Ad hoc Committee investigating the 30 trillion naira Ways and Means advance to the federal government and its 1.1 trillion naira Anchor Borrowers Fund grilled officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria. The chairman of the committee, Senator Issa Jibrin, while speaking to journalists after the committee met with officials of the Apex Bank at the National Assembly in Abuja, says the loans must be recovered in full. The bank's representatives were led to the meeting by the Deputy Governor in charge of Corporate Services, Mr. Balabelu. Senator Jibrin says the committee was able to extract useful information from the CBN, which will guide in their next level of discussions.
They were able to make presentation to us on the ways and means with respect to the beneficiaries of those loans. Okay? But we had issues of approvals. There are areas that we discover that the central bank governor unilaterally gave approval, and we feel that that is abnormal. We've asked them for explanations in that regard. They don't have immediate explanation, okay? And I want to believe that they want to go back home and check their records, and at the next meeting they may be able to provide us with the explanation. Because we believe that every approval must be given by the Committee of Governors. Okay, that is the governor and the deputies. Okay, that is the standard rule. But where, for example, the governor alone actually gave an approval, that calls for questioning. And I think they will provide answer to us very soon.
The House of Representatives Committee on Niger Delta paid an oversight visit to the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs and were received by the minister.
The engagement is clearly a familiarization visit by the House Committee on Niger Delta with a defined purpose of sharing ideas and suggestions, including challenges related to or associated with development and empowerment or lack of this in the Niger Delta region.
As a committee, your responsibility is to oversight the ministry. And I'm sure there's time for that when you come for budget oversight and the rest of them. But for today, I'm told that you are here for a familiarization visit and to acquaint yourself with the ministry so that at least when you pass on the road, you see the man on my right, you know that is the permanent secretary of the ministry.
We had an interview with Senator Shuaibu Afolabi. He unveils his agenda for his constituents. Take a look.
What have I done in the last 6 months or so that I've been here? First, from the perspective of my constituency, number one, one of the first things I did was to do training for our youth. We have a large percentage of Nigerian population that is youth. And therefore, the first thing I did was to do training for 50 selected youth for almost 2 weeks across the 6 local government of Central Senatorial District. Not only did we train them, we also provided them with tools, particularly laptop. And what makes this project different is that we're not just giving them tools or giving them training, we are doing a follow-up. So they've been given the training, they've been given a laptop, and they've also come back in a few months to showcase what they have been able to do, because it is the continuous process. The second thing in that area as well is that I've been able to attract a few ICT centers. So there's an ICT community center that will be formally unveiling very soon in Abeokuta. And we have also done 2 ICT centers in 2 secondary schools, one in the local government, the other one in the 4 local government, as part of creating opportunities and platforms for the children, particularly the secondary school students, to learn about ICT skills. That is a new learning, that's the new knowledge, particularly in an area that the global competitiveness of nations is no longer determined by the amount of minerals under the soil, but by the assets that your citizens carry in their head. Therefore, we are catching them young. We are doing this. But we also need to speak to the issue of sustainability, particularly the issue of climate. Recently, the whole world gathered in Dubai to talk about climate change. But we also recognize that, particularly for women. So we are done training for about 300 women for them to be aware about the individual responsibility to maintaining a very conducive climate that we can pass on to the next generation. So these 300 women, they were trained on the impact of burning forests, the impact of using firewood instead of gas, and they were also provided with cooking gas materials in order to move them away from activities that could impact negatively on the climate, to things that are sustainable. These are some of the things we have done within the constituency. But on a global scale, on a national scale rather, 65-70% of our population is youth. But we have, even with the best efforts, we can't get employment for all of them in one fell swoop. What do we need to do? Someone has read pharmacy, has read computer science, has read medicine. He has graduated, he has served, there's no job. A few things happen to him. Number one, he doesn't have a productive engagement, so he's idle, he's available. For those of them who might not be strong enough, they're available to do things that are, if you like, against social norms. Number two, they're also losing their skills. You graduate, you don't have the skills. You don't have an opportunity to practice the skills. Number three, you also don't have a stipend. So their confidence in themselves, the dignity of the school, the education they've had, begins to be eroded. So this bill seeks to achieve 2 things. Number one, if somebody has studied mass communication as an example, and the Ministry of Information does not have a permanent employment for him, or the channels of this or of TVC, they can afford to have him on internship. Maybe 3 days a week. And it's based on stipends. What this does is, number one, we will have a national database of people who are looking for employment or are underemployed. As the saying goes, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it.
Our program for this week has come to an end. We appreciate your feedback. Feel free to email us at thegavel@channelstv.com. Thank you for tuning in. I am Benny Ark, wishing you all the best.